5 o'clock, Idaho Sports Talk. Good stuff. Glad you guys are with us. Been a great first 2 hours. If you missed Dirk Cutter or Eric Shenander, your offensive and defensive coordinators at Boise State, those will be up on our app, on our website. Make sure you listen to a focused, a business-like Dirk Cutter in that interview. We'll get to Coach Danielson in a moment, Prater, but holy shnikes, dude, we did it. We made it through another offseason today, kind of media day, if you will, for the Boise State coaches. Tomorrow, the team reports for day one, and Wednesday is officially the first day of fall camp. So here we go. I mean, hitting the ground running. That's what we're doing today, getting everybody ready for a Boise State football season that, at least according to those coaches down there at the Blameyer, kind of began today.
Well, for those guys, it probably began the first day after offseason.
Yeah, it never ends. But you know
Spencer Danielson. For us, absolutely. And tomorrow, everybody takes a deep breath, and at 9:50, we'll be on the practice field on Wednesday morning. So very much looking forward to it. It's been a crazy busy offseason, but it's not been one of those weird newsy off seasons. We kind of expected Boise State to show up fairly healthy to camp when players report tomorrow, and Spencer Danielson says this team is about as healthy as it's ever been. That's pretty good. A couple of new players here. Devon Banks, we've talked about him. We'll certainly introduce you to him over these next couple of weeks. This football team, despite a very crazy, busy, chaotic offseason, is in pretty good shape where they can take a deep breath. Job well done. Now let's get to work.
This is our video segment, so welcome everybody on our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed to the 95.3 The Ticket YouTube channel, we'd really appreciate a click and subscription. So shout out to the folks at the Dollar Loan Center for continuing this wonderful partnership with us here at KTIK The Ticket. Now, let's get to head football coach Spencer Danielson at the podium today, kicking off the 2024 season. And of course, what does everybody want to talk about? You got it, the quarterback competition. Here's Spencer Danielson on the quarterback competition going into camp.
Across our entire team, there's a ton of position battles that I cannot wait to see going to fall camp. Obviously, quarterback being one of them. Maddox and Malachi are going to compete at extremely high level. I will name a starter prior to game week, and that's our goal. Right now, Maddox and Malachi will compete in everything they do. Maddox is full go. Malachi is as well. And so let the competition begin. That is one competition battle. There's a lot of them across the board because the only way we're going to get to where we need to is the competition has to be through the roof across all levels. There's guys that have played a lot of football for us. My job is that the number 2 right behind him is trying to catch him as quickly as he can. So there's a lot of position battles across, and I'm excited to see those play out through fall camp.
In terms of those quarterbacks, when you've seen both guys in practice, you've seen them in game-like situations, at the end of the day, what's going to determine who starts in the opening week?
Whoever gives us the best opportunity to win games will be the starter game one. Yep.
Will Maddox still kind of go in being oranges, or does that kind of switch through?
Yes, we're still working through it. So to start fall camp, practice one, Maddox will get the blue reps or our first team reps. Malachi will get the 2 reps. And then, but that will be moved around as we go through fall camp. Want to see Malachi then with some of the blues, see Maddox with the orange. There's going to be that transition. Me and Dirk are going to be working hand in hand as we go through fall camp to make sure competition's through the roof. Everything's going to be graded. Everything's going to be analyzed. It's going to be very black and white. And whatever quarterback gives us the best opportunity to win games will be the starter.
What did you learn about Malachi in the spring?
It was awesome to see Malachi continue to grow day in and day out. If you watch spring ball practice 1 and the spring game, just seeing his growth and development for those 15 practices, that's a testament to his work ethic and who he is. And now now going into the summertime into fall camp, he knows the offense now. He's done a really good job studying it, so now he can compete at the highest level he can.
Can he get better? Anything specifically in the summer, and where did he get better specifically?
The biggest thing in the summertime, obviously there's football, there's installs, we're going through football, but it's making sure for him putting some body armor on, getting to be strong, making sure he's explosive. And so that's the thing, that's the stuff that he worked with Coach Hilgart, our training staff, to make sure that he can compete at the highest level because he's got the body armor and strength to develop his body.
A lot was made about kind of how Malachi was learning the playbook and quickly picked it up. How much better did he even get over the summer?
It's been awesome to see him continue to take those strides, because then going into summer, because you got spring ball, then you've got the summer installs, and now really the third cycle is fall camp. So now as he's getting in these installs, now there's that confidence for him now too. So it's no longer there's obviously little intricacies that you got to continue to learn in meetings and in walkthroughs and everything you do. But now he's going to be able to go into fall camp practice one with a lot more confidence because he knows that that's where true confidence comes from, is the preparation that you know exactly what you're supposed to do so you can do it at a high level. So he has more of that now. And so it's excited to see Maddox and Malachi, who both are extremely confident competitors, go at it.
That initially the Max will kind of get the run of the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
Why does he get that right out of the gate?
Yeah, Maddox Madsen has a lot of equity with this team. I mean, you talk about a guy that humble and hungry, low ego, high output. That's Maddox Madsen. And that's who he is, not only when I'm around him, that's how his teammates sees him. And that's what he was able to do last season before getting hurt. You talk about a guy that competed throughout last season to start games, to win the starting spot. Really, last season got injured. That's the name of the game in football. But he's earned the right to go into fall camp, getting the blue reps. But competition be through the roof for him and Malachi. Malachi's new in January with Maddox not being able to go through spring ball with the knee injury. Now that he's healthy, we're going to be able to go head-to-head competition.
This is Spencer Danielson's 8th season, and it seems like he's been the head coach for 8 years. But you know what? This is his first ever fall camp as a head coach at Boise State. Sometimes you have to remind yourself that he's that young still in his career. So we asked him today about changes and tweaks and how he's trying to make fall camp more personal for him and update things for him. And so here's some minor tweaks that he's taking care of this August.
Yeah, there's some things, Mike, just even early on, like practices to start fall camp are going to be a little bit shorter than they've been. Just a little bit to make sure there is a ramp up as you get into fall camp 1, 2, 3. There's even, not to go into the intricacies, but there's even some things that we had installed early in fall camp that we are going to wait to install to when we get more pads on. Because obviously to start fall camp practice 1 and 2, it's helmets and spiders. And so instead of putting in maybe some of our DNA run schemes to start fall camp, we're going to put those in when we've got shoulder pads on. So there's a little bit of some install standpoint. We're going to lift more in fall camp to make sure we're explosive and strong throughout fall camp. Because right now, I mean, last Friday, we ended summer training. I mean, our guys are fast, explosive, strong. Like I said, Coach Hilgard has done a phenomenal job with our young men. But now it's our job as coaches and me as the leader of this program to make sure that we get our time in the weight room so we stay strong, explosive through fall camp. So when we get to game 1, Georgia Southern, which is a huge opponent for us, we are still the same explosive athlete we were right there in July. You know, wins and losses will ultimately be the judge on this. That's how football works at this level. But you know, hearing with Spencer Danielson and having him talk about Coach Hilgard all the time and his program there, I don't think strength, conditioning, attrition is ever going to be an issue for a Spencer Danielson football program. Love hearing him saying that. It just has to equal into wins. And if it doesn't, then you got a whole nother issue. Ashton Jeanty, well, there's a whole nother issue there. Prater and I are going to talk about this more tomorrow. Just exactly what is the Genty plan? The Genty rules. Spencer Danielson talked about it earlier today. Here's Coach D on Genty's game plan for fall camp. Obviously, going into fall camp as a running back, the shots on the body, but he needs those. And so he's going to get his work in each day. All the reps he's getting, BJ, are planned out. We're going to get him some scrimmage reps. I right now, BJ, I can't tell you exactly what it's going to look like in that scrimmage from reps, but I know same thing. Made a lot of calls on especially that position at running back, how to keep him safe, keep him healthy for game 1. But he also needs to make sure his body is taking hits in fall camp because that's how your body grows and gets ready for the shots you're going to take game 1. So we've got a really good plan for Ashton, a couple of our guys that are returners that have been through a lot of football. But you got to get your work in. He's got to take his shots. He's got to know what it feels like to be tackled to the ground. He's got to know what that feels like. So what exactly that looks like from rep standpoint and how much he's going to get, BJ, we're still working through that, and it's going to be a day-to-day evaluation. But I do know that we're going to be very smart with Ashton, but we're going to make sure he gets his work so he's ready.
We're going to dive into more of this tomorrow, where we're going to talk about Ashton Genty and his August game. What did you call the ball game? You had a phrase today, like the Ashton Genty game plan, something as simple as that.
You know, I called it, they had an NBA, like Chuck Daly had the Jordan rules. I think I called it the Genty rules.
The Genty rules for fall camp. The Genty rules for fall camp. Well, we asked Cutter about it, and you heard that. We also asked James Montgomery, the running backs coach. They all had slightly different answers. I think James Montgomery wants to protect Ashton Jeanty maybe a little bit more than the head coach and the coordinator, but we'll dive into a little bit of that tomorrow. Today, we're also talking about the wide receiver room. Holy shnikes. 16 wide receivers on this football team. 16.
Wow.
And we think 5 of them can be impact players, maybe 6, depending on, the growth of Cam Camper. We'll see how that plays out. So, in the words of Johnny Ballgame, Coach, that's a lot of mouths to feed.
I'm excited to see now that we finally got everybody healthy going into fall camp. Still a couple guys limited. So a lot of this is going to shake itself out through fall camp, Johnny. This is a group of guys that we're able to see some of them in spring. Some of them were still inhibited from injuries from either the season or stuff prior. But they've done a really good job this summer. I mean, seeing these guys attack the deck, seeing how they've been working their tail off to get healthy. I mean, Cam Camper's a guy that wasn't able to go through spring and just is working his tail off in the training room, in the weight room to get healthy. And now being able to see him come into fall camp, I haven't seen him catch football yet. I haven't seen him do some of this stuff yet. So I'm excited to see him. I know what I've heard. All I know, what I've seen is he works his tail off. And so I'm excited to see him come in. So long-winded answer to your question, John. I'm excited to see this receiver room compete. I do know competition through the roof. We're going to find a way to get all these boys the rock. I can promise you that. We're going to find a way to rotate to where our best guys are on the field catching touchdowns. That's a promise. But who earns it every single day? And once again, availability is a huge part to a receiver. How fast you are, how explosive you are. If you can't find a way on the field because of injury, it ain't going to help us. So we got to make sure these guys stay healthy, stay on the attack. But it was a huge point of emphasis this offseason was improving our pass game offensively, and we have the weapons to do it. Now we just got to go earn it.
If there's a position where maybe you can afford to have someone limited in practice, Cam Camper's limited in practice, SD said that. Maybe it's the receiver position, but I'm starting to – maybe it's just me being negative on this one, but I'm starting to lose a little hope in the Cam Camper thing. I got to see this guy play at some point, and when he gets available full time, where is everybody else going to be in the pecking order ahead of him? He had 17 catches for Indiana last year in 8 games. That's not anything special. 17 catches before he got hurt. I don't know here. Interested to hear Coach D talk about Cam Camper in the receiver room, but he's limited.
He is limited, and I think Spencer Danielson is limited as well. He said he's going to find a way to get every one of these guys catches. That's a ridiculous comment. 6 Boise State wide receivers caught passes last year. 6.
Okay.
He's got 16 on his roster now. Now, half of those you can obviously eliminate because of, youth and experience, bench, role playing, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And number 1 was Eric McAllister, and that left me Bowens and Cobbs and Strawn and Bolt and Penry. And then Shea Whiting had 1 catch. So, no, he's not going to be able to get every single one of those. He's going to have to focus on a core 4, 5, or 6 in terms of targets. There's no doubt about that. Dirk Cutter told us this is going to be a run-first team. They're not going to stray from that. Even if Genty goes down, they got number 2. If number 2 goes down, they got number 3. They love this run game. I don't think the pass production stuff, that's kind of why Dirk Cutter probably has some backdoor confidence in terms of he's not too worried about this quarterback deal. Just feed the rock to Ashton Genty, and the quarterbacks will kind of work themselves out. It's the sexy position that we like to follow, but that wide receiver room, he's not going to make everybody happy this year.
No, man. 208-424-9300. What are your thoughts on the wide receiver room? You've heard Spencer talk about it. You've heard Dirk Cutter talk about it. Share those thoughts on our Cloverdale Plumbing text line. Let's get to the defensive side of the ball. Coach D's background, something that he's always used to talking about. And Prater, I think Coach Danielson might have had 15, 20 minutes into that presser before he got to talk a little bit of defense, right? But he talked a lot about a linebacker in the linebacking room and a guy who we thought was breaking into stardom last year on the blue in Marco Notriani. What's his status? Marco Notriani back and healthy, Coach D?
Marco coaching the linebackers last year as the defensive coordinator. He is one of the best football players I've ever coached that can go from a Tuesday morning meeting where maybe I'm saying, hey, right hash, this formation, we want to get the front set here, whatever maybe that little intricacy is, and he will remember it in game. I mean, he is very special in regards to how he picks up football and his football IQ. He's one of the best I've been around. Obviously has been inhibited by injuries in his time here. Torn his ACL, he's just been through a lot. So seeing him healthy now on the field with our defense, because not only the plays that Marco makes, the tackles or the sacks or whatever the production is, I mean, he is a leader on that field. He communicates through the roof. He makes sure the whole front seven's on the same page. He is loud. He is vocal, and that is needed as the Mike linebacker in this defense. So he's an integral part to our defense. And I brought this up before. Jake Ripp has had a phenomenal offseason. So I'm excited now with Marco back out there, Jake Ripp, to see those guys compete. And we're going to find ways. You guys know defensively, we're going to have a bunch of different packages to make sure our best 11 in situations are on the field.
And we just talked about the wide receivers. There's 16 of them on this football team, the linebackers. And again, there's only 2 spots. They only have 8 linebackers on this entire football team. And Notriani, Rip, and Andrew Simpson are dynamite, special difference makers kind of players. So, the ratio of efficiency in that room is going to be spectacular. And then if you can get somebody like a Martin to come in there and be the 4th guy, I love the potential of this linebacker room. Boise State's had great individual linebackers. They've had great linebacker rooms. And if this one keeps developing, it could be one of the deepest, best linebacker rooms that Boise State's had. I cannot wait to see what happens with these 3 guys.
If Jake Ripp is as good as, I don't know, everybody in the free world with a Boise State opinion inside that building that's telling us the year he's had, if he's anywhere close to that, it'll be tough to keep Jake Ripp off of the blue. Certainly, and we were talking to Stacey Collins, I'll throw this in there. He was saying, yeah, special teams, we're going to get all these guys. Special teams are going to have better players on special teams, I think, than they've had in the past. That's going to be another one here. No, back to Danielson, though, in defense. Here's a name I think everybody, Bronco Nation, you need to hope that this guy becomes a name everybody knows. I'm talking about the transfer Devon Banks. Spencer Danielson, why and how did Devon Banks end up in Boise?
Yeah, obviously knew Devon Banks. We recruited him out of high school. Went to Washington, so we had a prior relationship with him. Went to San Jacinto High School, home of Sheldon Newton, know their head coach. He's a phenomenal guy. And so know who he was, who he is as a person. And so when he was in the transfer portal, he's a guy that not only we knew he was a person, but I also knew how he would help our team. And especially in the back end, we knew that we needed to keep competition through the roof in our secondary. And the secondary we had last year, we took our lumps early on. I believe we played our best football later in the year. And so going into spring ball and summertime, defensively, Mike, it was a huge point on we got to make sure competition is through the roof in our secondary. And so bringing in Devon Banks, I mean, he has not played football here yet, but on paper, I know the type of competitor he is, and I know the type of skill set he has, and he has a chance to compete for a starting spot on defense and special teams. Now he's got to go earn it, because we've got some really good guys in front of him that have earned it, but he's gonna turn the heat up on, and I'm excited to see what he does in fall camp.
All right, cornerback, what a position that's going to be this year. Share your thoughts, DBs, corners, what do you need to see from fall camp for you going to have the confidence that this defense isn't going to get beat like a redheaded stinking whatever child, Prater, like they did last year. Too many darn splash plays. What do you guys think? 208-424-9300. We'll tell you what we think. Prater and our recap coming up here on IST, Prater.
Ball game, I learned a new phrase today. I'm not going to say what it is. I want to talk about it and a couple of other things when we come back. I learned a new phrase today. In 30 years or whatever of covering football, I heard something today that I've never heard, and I heard it from 2 different assistant coaches.
Prater on the ball game. You'll hear it when we come back.
From the Beacon Plumbing Traffic Studios, this is Ticket Traffic.
Very little, if any, slowing at the 84.